You have to set your actions up in such a way where the end result is progress. And the way that we do that, we know, is through the self-education, the personal development, training hard, not just showing up.
Hey friends, welcome to the BK Strength Show. My name is Bedros Keuilian, and you are inside BK Strength, my private and personal gym. This is the show dedicated to helping you build your emotional, mental, and physical resilience and toughness so that you can dominate life and reach your fullest potential. Today we've got someone very special with me here. He's a good friend, and he is the founder and CEO of Nutrition Solutions, Mr. Chris Cavalini. Welcome, brother.
Thank you so much, man. I'm looking forward to this for a long time. Good
Dude,
to see you.
Good to see you. And the way you and I met, the last time you were here was probably a month and a half ago.
Yep.
And it was through a mutual friend, Jinder Mahal, right? WWE pro wrestler.
Yep.
And you had come out with him and just have this great vibe and energy about you. And you show up with the giving hand. I love the way you roll up, man. So Nutrition Solutions, first and foremost, what is it? What do you do?
Yeah, so Nutrition Solutions is a meal preparation company. We take it a step further by incorporating, not just obviously providing our clients the customized meals that are catered to their goals and such, but we incorporate an accountability aspect. There's coaching. We have a team of NASM certified fitness and nutrition specialists and weight loss specialists that are essentially available to our clients throughout the process to hold them accountable to their goals and to provide that ongoing support, because the accountability aspect is massive.
Yeah.
Obviously there's an epidemic of immense proportion right now with the obesity epidemic and such. So what we're seeing and beginning to understand more and more is, the healthy food is out there. People don't need companies like mine to get in shape. I mean, anybody at any given time can go to the store, they can prepare healthy food, and they can eat well consistently and be healthy, look good, feel good, etc.
Yep.
But they're not. And the accountability aspect was something that was very, very important to me. And I started the company in 2011. What it was then, what it is now, is like night and day.
Sure.
Right? I mean, it goes without saying. A few years ago was when I really started to focus on developing a company culture and doing everything I could to provide as much value to the people who give us the opportunity to essentially help them reach their goals. So
Sure.
We're vested, man. We're in it. We're committed to help them get their goals. And
Well, I've noticed that, and in fact, Jinder uses your meals
Yeah.
to lean out for his big shows, right?
That's
along with other like pro athletes and wrestlers, et cetera.
We have a lot of pro athlete, clients. I mean, half the WWE roster. Jinder's a friend of mine, and actually our friendship started as a result of him actually starting with our company. And he came in, he was unemployed, he was out of shape, was in a not so good place in his life, started eating good, training hard, doing the personal development, and then he transformed. I mean, he had one of the most impressive transformations.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, so obviously as someone that has a meal prep company and you deliver all over the United States, clearly you have a business degree and you're probably a chef and you've studied nutrition for a long time because, well, that's how people do this, right?
Yeah, so not quite. My upbringing, my background is somewhat unconventional. I was arrested 17 times prior to my 18th birthday.
Really?
Yeah. And, my senior year in high school, ultimately I was given an ultimatum to either go to jail for 7 months or join the military. The state of Massachusetts drew a conclusion that I just wasn't getting it, being that they were seeing me in court.
Well, 17 times is quite the track record.
Well, I've been arrested more than that. That was just before my 18th birthday.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
Please don't minimize my.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But
I go all in.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I didn't go to school. I mean, literally, I can't say I'm not educated. I'm extremely educated, but it was self-education.
Sure.
It was through reading a ton of books. I mean, I was a drug dealer for a lot of years. Like, I'm a little all over the place now, but joined the military, ended up getting out way too early. Wasn't the best move for me. I went from having structure, discipline, just order in my life, which I'd never had coming up, to, having that in the military. 5 years, I had that, and then literally one night to the next, I made the decision to basically not have that anymore. But I didn't anticipate what would end up happening. And it was just, I'm basically kind of slipping back into some of my old patterns.
So let's dive into that
Yeah.
for a minute. So 17 times you were arrested before your 18th birthday. The court system, the powers that be decide, hey man, you're either going to jail or you're going to join the military because clearly you don't get it. Clearly you don't get it. And you're like,
They
you know
weren't
what?
wrong.
Here, Navy, here I come. Right? So you enlist in the Navy. You spend 5 years serving our country.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And you get out. Now, this is a post that I did just the other day, and I said, this is a all points bulletin to, I said, professional warriors, because I've got a lot of friends who are Navy SEALs.
Yep.
I said to professional warriors, professional athletes, celebrities, authors, whatever, even entrepreneurs. I've got a friend of mine who took a business from $300 million to $3.5 billion in 5 years and sold it. Now, when you, in 5 years, have that level of purpose to grow business from 300 million to 3.5 billion and then sell it, you were purpose driven.
Yeah.
Next day after he sells, he's lost that purpose. Very similar to you, just like I see Navy SEALs come out of service.
Yeah. Psychology.
Yeah. Right. And we don't have what is that next conquer, the thing to conquer, because we're so driven to conquer. So you start slipping back into what I'm hearing you say is your old habits.
So, some of my old patterns. Basically, I would tell you the military changed my life in so many ways. Obviously, it gave me discipline. It gave me structure. I started to learn about the importance of standards and taking pride in the details. Attention to detail is, a term you hear a lot in the Navy. And I was also fortunate to be involved with one of the most elite communities in all of the military. I was a Navy deep sea diver, so the training that I went through that was 6 months, very, very intense. I think when I went through, it was about a 70% attrition rate. So that was a really good life experience for someone like me that came from what I did and helped me get a little bit organized in a short period of time.
Yeah.
So it also did something that, again, I wasn't really aware of at the time, but the thing I believe was most beneficial is it removed me from the place, the people, the energy, and the circumstances that was encompassing my life coming up. That was a big deal. Again, I wasn't aware of it at the time, but that was massive because, the people, the environment, all that shit dictates
Once you
their
were
mindset.
removed from that environment, Chris, did you realize how fucked up your environment was and how it contributed to your delinquency?
Without question. It was so profound. I was in boot camp for, I think it's 9 weeks, that training is. And boot camp sucks, man. The whole purpose of boot camp is to make you very uncomfortable and essentially work towards, you developing some sort of level of comfort in those shitty conditions. People yelling at you all the time. You get woken up, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning by a guy yelling at the top of his lungs. It's not the most pleasant thing and
Sure.
one thing to. So there's just a lot of that. But honestly, it was better than what I've been used to. So boot camp wasn't bad for me. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it while most other people did. And I did, yeah. It became pretty obvious to me that, this was a great move for me, getting away from where I was and where I was going. And ultimately, when I got out, I didn't have that anymore. I didn't have purpose. I really didn't know what I was going to do. I wanted to, believe it or not, I wanted to go into law enforcement. Now I have, military special program experience. I can use that.
Sure.
The majority of my arrests were actually happened before my 18th birthday. So a lot of them, when I turned 18, you couldn't pull them up in a background check, which was a big deal because,
Right.
Nobody's trying to hire someone with a shitload of
rap
arrests.
sheet, yeah.
But basically, I started working in a strip club to make some cash under the table. And, while I was working in the strip club, I was taking a couple online classes at a community college, and it wasn't for the education. The military has phenomenal education benefits, and once you get out, they will give you X amount of dollars per month if you're maintaining a half-time, full-time schedule. So by working under the table, I was able to get the benefits of the full ride, which is $1,300 a month for the college, and after the classes maybe have been $400, so I put the other monies in my pocket. So it was like a hustle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The community college classes were a joke. I'd go and take the quiz. I'm looking the answers up so long story short, about a year in the strip club started to weigh heavy on me, man. That was not the atmosphere for someone like me. I was a very insecure person back then, and I didn't have a lot of patience. So when anybody like challenged me or whatever, it's like I was just quick to get aggressive. I was getting in a lot of fights with customers, drinking at work to make it more tolerable, messing with the girls, which I didn't like the girls, but I was, of course, you're in a strip club,
Right,
you're a
you're in
young
the
guy.
environment, yeah.
It got to a point where I just was so dissatisfied with my quality of life that I inevitably quit and became a drug dealer.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's the God's honest truth. That's what happened.
And I'm guessing that that's where the remaining arrests
Yeah, so
came from?
in my early 20s, mid 20s, I got arrested a few times. A couple fights, like a battery with a dangerous weapon. It was a can of Red Bull. That's not even a story worth telling. But just stupid
It
shit.
could cut someone if it was torn the right way.
Yeah. But ultimately, I sold anabolic steroids for 6, 7 years. Lived a very fast life. I was on top of the world in my weak mind at that point. I was making fast cash, spending it just as fast, if not faster, and did that for a lot of years. Didn't work. That was my work, and I basically slept till the sun was warm. Got up, went to the gym, and just partied 5, 6 nights a week. Bottle service. I mean, you name it, man. I was the man about town, and during that time, I knew a lot of people. So going out all the time, I guess in my mind, I'm like, I'm networking. I'm meeting people.
So you're finding ways to justify this
Oh,
thing.
without question.
But somewhere in the back of your mind, you're probably comparing it to your 5 years in the Navy where you had a greater sense of purpose and significance. And this has got to be weighing on you, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, at the time, I'm not aware of these things, but it's like I was living my life the way I was living my life. And, eventually it got to a point where, you're getting older and like your priorities start to change. I hung out with other drug dealers. I mean, drug dealers typically hang out with other drug dealers. A lot of people I knew started getting caught, getting sent away to prison. And one of those people was my best friend, and he got sent to prison, got sentenced to 12 years. That was a big wake-up call for me. And then I started becoming basically consumed with the fear, the thought, the vision of what my life would look like if I didn't start making some changes. And I honestly did not know what I wanted to do. I didn't start a business. Are you kidding me? How could I start a business?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I just knew that I had to get out of that life. And it wasn't because I was scared to go to prison. I was scared of going back to look like, as a kid, man, I know what it feels like to have to steal clothes out of a lost and found dirty clothes, mind you, in middle school. So I had new clothes to wear. Like, that is not a good feeling, the way you are looked at by other people.
Sure.
I know what it's like to, not, eat lunch at school for months at a time because I was too embarrassed to stand in the free lunch line. I didn't want anybody to know that. And that, I think it wasn't really me being afraid to go to prison. It was me being afraid of like just regression. And I went to somebody I respected, asked him, was fully transparent about my situation. And I said, he was a successful guy, someone I had contact, I could actually, interact with. I didn't have many successful friends back then. And I was like, what, do you have any advice? Do you have any recommendations? Like, what can I do with where I'm at? And he gave me 2 pieces of advice. He said that I needed to start investing in my personal development. He put me onto Tony Robbins. This was, like I said, 2010, right?
Yeah.
Where there was limited resources.
How old were you at that time?
So I'm 36 now. That was what?
So you were
9 years ago?
Okay.
Yeah,
25.
25.
Yeah.
25, 26. So I start watching Tony Robbins' YouTube videos and whatever. There wasn't the amount of resources that are available now with social media changing and podcasts, shows like this. And the other thing he said is I needed to start surrounding myself with people who were better than me. And he said it like that. Not people who are more successful, because he knew that would resonate with me. And it did. And watching all the Tony Robbins YouTube videos, going to places, I didn't really have anybody I could hang out with that was better than me. Why would anybody like that want to hang out with someone like me? So I started like just going to places where I knew that successful people would be, like restaurants, networking events, things of that nature. And I started to just kind of like just observe like just the way they dress, the way they speak, the way they like just interact with other people, and just overall like just learning, just being in the environment. I just felt like that was something I should do. That was a step in the right direction. And one of the things that I realized, like a common denominator that I saw between most of these people, these successful people, was the fact that the majority of them were not out of shape. Like, in fact, it became obvious to me that like they prioritized like their health and fitness to a higher degree than like normal people do.
Yeah.
So I took note of that, and I was like, well, since I can't be where they're at right now, like I can at least like start getting better with my fitness. I can start like training harder. I can start like eating good. You know, back then I didn't eat good. I mean, I ate what I perceived.
So wait,
to be
when
good.
you were this is just my own curiosity.
it's cool.
When you're selling steroids, anabolic steroids, you weren't using it.
Oh no, I was, of course.
But you just didn't have your diet dialed in, so you're I'm just trying to picture, like, were you the we've all seen it, the
Fat,
bulky,
big
fat,
guy?
muscular
No.
guy?
No, I looked. I mean, look, when you're younger, you can get away with eating things that you can't as you get older. Your body starts to change. But no,
Sure.
I looked good. I wasn't as lean as I am now. I mean, looking back at it, I'm disgusted at what I see, but to like regular standards,
Right.
no, I'll tell you what my diet consists of. I would eat or drink muscle milk protein shakes. Not, and this is muscle milk circa 2010.
Yeah, like the 1.0 version.
Yeah, right, which was not a healthy product.
Right.
And I was going to a place called Tropical Smoothie. I don't know if they have those.
They do, they have
Oh,
that.
they do. So I was going twice a day, and like that was me eating healthy in
A lot
my
of
mind.
sugar, bro.
Oh, dude, it
Yeah.
wasn't.
But again,
wasn't good.
yeah,
but I'm taking gear. I'm working
Right.
out hard. I'm young.
You're young.
So it's kind of like
Your body's forgiving at that point.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah,
That's interesting. So let me ask you this, dude. Or first, let me share this with you, because as your mentor, I'm just going to call him that. I mean, the guy that you went to who was successful and well-to-do, and he was kind enough to advise you. Sounds like he said something that a friend of mine, Dan Sullivan, talks about all the time, which is the thoughts that occupy your mind and the people that you surround yourself with are the two determining factors of failure or success. And effectively, that's what this guy said. Personal development, the thoughts that occupy your mind, and the people that, he said, find people better than you and hang out with them, the people that you surround yourself with. That, to me, has been a massive pivot point in my life when I started to control the thoughts that occupy my mind, and, of course, control. And I use the word control because I'm a control freak, and I think,
as am I.
yeah, and most successful people are.
You have to be.
Yeah, and so you decide that at some point, I'm going to start this meal prep company? Or was it an accident? Some businesses are just kind of discovered by accident, because like, well, I did it for myself, then I did it for 4 friends. Next thing you know, I'm charging people. And then others are intentional. How do you start going down that path, having been arrested so many times, no formal education in this industry, et cetera?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So it is a very like interesting sequence of events that led up to that. But basically, you know, as I mentioned, started going all in on my personal development. And again, all in back then was not all in to my standards now. All in back then was whatever I perceived it to be then. Look, I didn't have a job, right? So I had a lot of free time on my hands. So I started reading books, watching the YouTube videos. One of the things that Tony Robbins is big on. I mean, one of the things that every successful person ever knows is like, if you want to be successful, look at someone else's being successful and then just do the shit that they're doing.
Model success.
Easy enough. Another thing that he said that stood out to me was, in order to, you know, to experience fulfillment at the absolute highest level, in order to live the best life possible, you have to contribute beyond your own means. You have to give back in some way. So I'm like, okay. So, you know, he talked about all the things that he did, all the, you know, charities and organizations, and when he had no money. And I'm like, all right, this guy's saying I need to model people who are successful, and I need to give back. So I'm like, all right, Tony Robbins, you're successful. I'm going to model you. I'm going to go give back. Giving back was not important to me. I mean, how could it have been? I never
Right.
did it. I'm doing it for no other reason than this fucking guy on this computer screen is telling me that that's what I need to do to be successful. Found an event, you know, every second Wednesday of the month or something. This church would organize a feeding of the homeless, right? And they looked for volunteers to help with the setup, the cleanup, and serving the food. So I showed up, and again, I showed up that day not because I cared about helping homeless people, not because I was trying to make a difference in the world or make an impact. I was there for me. I was there for very selfish reasons. And I will tell you, Bedros, about 10 minutes into that experience, I quickly felt something that I'd legitimately, at that point, 26, 27 years old I was at the time, I felt something that I never felt in my entire life.
What did you feel?
It consumed my entire physiology. I was experiencing just deep feelings of pride, fulfillment, and just like a deep sense, like a newfound like purpose. And literally, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I knew that I needed to figure out a way to live my life and do something with my life where I was able to experience those feelings all of the time. And I'm not saying from there the thought came to me, but inevitably, being that that's what I was feeling, that's what I was thinking, eventually I attracted the opportunity, and Nutrition Solutions was born.
Ironically, you were feeding people then
Yeah.
that gave you a great sense of pride and accomplishment, and then you're doing that now.
Yeah, it was that, and it was also just the gratitude that I was experiencing from being there, the perspective. Although I was very depressed at that time. I didn't know where I was going. I wasn't feeling very good about myself, but being there and just getting that perspective, getting the gratitude from the people that I'm helping, and just feeling the feelings of helping other people. That's I think what it was, and I wanted to figure out a way to do that, and not necessarily monetize it. I wasn't even thinking. I was like, I want to feel like this all the time, because even though my life is not good, I feel fucking amazing. So nutrition.
You're chasing that feeling.
Exactly, and I'm putting it out there and just thinking about it, and then an opportunity presented itself, and I grabbed it by the fucking throat and never let go. And to date, we've had the opportunity to serve 55,000 clients and growing, and I can comfortably and confidently tell you that we've changed a lot of lives, man. And it's not just the clients.
In a relatively short time.
Yeah, in a very relatively short period of time. And it's not just the clients, man. I have a team that consists predominantly of convicted felons, people who've served extensive sentences in prison, former drug addicts, and people who have come from circumstances that most are not familiar with. And I have taken on the responsibility to essentially have my company's ecosystem set up in such a way where these people can come in, get an opportunity they otherwise wouldn't be able to get anywhere else, because nobody would let them in the fucking door because of their record and such. But basically have our company's ecosystem set up to where they legitimately have to follow the same process that I did to go from being a drug dealing fucking nobody with no hope, no future, no purpose, to where I am now. And we have mandatory personal development at the company. I pay these guys to work out twice a week. They have like a boot camp, it's like CrossFit style, where they're on the clock getting paid for that. And every Friday, they actually go as a team and do community service, whether it's donating meals to the homeless or legitimately just going out and cleaning up in the streets. And again, they're getting paid for that. So I'm basically putting a system in place that is, essentially fail-safe to contribute to the betterment of these individuals' lives, because I want everybody that I know, I want everybody that's watching this, I want everybody like out there just to understand that like the life that you're looking for, like that thing that, that you think that you're missing, you can't quite figure it out. All it is the progress. You have to set your actions up in such a way where the end result is progress. And the way that we do that, we know, is through the self-education, the personal development, training hard, not just showing up. Showing up is not enough.
Yep.
The harder you go, the better it is. And it's not just the physical, it's the mental, and then giving back. And, we're doing pretty good, man. Like, we're an 8-figure company now. Over the last 15 months, I've been featured in Forbes 6 times, which is fucking crazy, because 2015, absolute worst year of my life. I narrowly escaped prison, was on the verge of losing my business, had a lot of employees like quit. They tried to get the jump on me because they thought we were going out of business, was in a bad situation. And as a way to build morale and just like tell everybody, like, look, well, maybe I was just trying to get them not to walk. I don't know what I was doing, but either way, I got up in front of the team I had, was about 8 people. And I said, guys, look, I know that things are rough right now. I was like, but I just overcame the hardest thing ever. And I was like, I promise it only gets better from here. I said, if you trust me, I said, I guarantee that we will become the best fucking meal prep company that this world has ever seen. And I was like, to add to that, I said, I will always look after. I was like, you guys fight with me, stick by my side now. You come into hell with me one more time, because I've drug them through hell before. I was like, let's just go one more time. As I promise, on the other end is a paradise that you cannot even imagine. And I felt pretty good about the talk, man. You never have a talk where you're like,
Yeah, yeah. You almost feel like something greater than you spoke through you.
but unfortunately, I don't think they got it. So at that point,
But you did. You got it. Sometimes you're
felt-
just speaking to yourself, bro.
Well, 100%. But so when I didn't get the like reception that I thought I was going to, I just randomly pulled this out of the sky and I was like, and additionally, remember my words. I was like, whatever the date was, I was like, I will one day be on the cover of Forbes. Mark my words. I had nothing. I legitimately had nothing. I was in debt. I was floating bills on a credit card. Dude, it was bad. And I've never thought about Forbes. That was not a goal of mine. I had no goals at that time. I didn't start actually setting real goals to the beginning of 2016. This was like December 2015. Started writing it down every day. And although, I obviously haven't been on the cover, I mean, it's pretty fucking cool to be in the game.
Damn straight it is.
Yeah.
And you're doing a damn good job of it. I mean,
Thank
the
you,
last
brother.
3 years, the growth that you've had has been huge. And building up to that, the personal development growth has just been monumental, which accounts for the 3 years of growth. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. I mean, with my outside eyes, Chris, here's what I'm seeing. And I know, we kind of recently met in the last 2 months, but you're on my show and I'm going to go deep on this. And
Please.
With my outside eyes, what I'm seeing is you've taken on almost a paternal, fatherly role beyond just mentoring these guys. And I'm guessing you're filling in the gaps that you didn't have as a young man, a father, wasn't there?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you say that. My dad took off when my mother was pregnant with me, so he was never around.
Yeah.
I had never even saw a picture of him. I never really thought of it like that. But yeah, man, I get almost to a flaw. I've gotten very personally invested in I care about these people very much, man. I care about them. And I know that it's possible. Like when like something and it's like something, if you take certain actions and it can result in just like good feelings and just being able to provide a better life for yourself and your family. It's like, dude, I want to jam it down their throats in the most positive way possible. And it's one of those things, man, where I don't have a family of my own, right? I don't have kids right now, and I'm going to adopt. That's something that's important to me. That is what. But to be quite honest, man, I mean, I feel like I have a lot of kids, and some of them are actually a lot older than me, as it turned out. So yeah, man.
Have you met your father?
So thank you for asking that. Crazy. Actually, it's not crazy, man. This is the way it works. So I'm 36. Okay. 2 years ago, around Christmas time, I started to think. I didn't start to think. I'd been thinking about it the previous couple of years about tracking him down. I've never seen a picture of him. I don't know anything about this man. My mother, being the quality of human being she is, she never. He was always villainized. So for when I was in my 20s, when I was going through this period of justification for my lifestyle, and well, I'll never be able to do this, I'll never be able to do that. One of the things like, oh, I got daddy issues. But how could I have fucking daddy issues if I never had a dad? That's a whole other thing. Right. But again, that's the narrative at that point.
Right.
And I started to think as I started to progress and started to develop, I started to think different. That if this guy's looking in and looking from the outside, looking at me, seeing like what I've become and the person I've become, and that might be pretty intimidating for if he wanted to reach out. Maybe he wanted to reach out. Maybe he wanted nothing more but to reach out. But the fear of me like telling him to go fuck himself or whatever, maybe that was like hindering him from ever sending that message or picking up the phone or whatever.
It takes a high level of empathy and compassion to be able to put yourself in that other person's shoes. Why? How did you develop that? How did you get to that place?
I just thought it was just one of those things. I mean, look, man, to this point in my life, I've done more things that I'm not proud of than things that I am. And I just have found that a pretty effective strategy into living like a quality life and a successful life is just to like be a good human being. Like not just when someone's looking, not just when it's convenient, not just when you're in a good fucking mood, like be a good human being. And I just thought that was the right thing to do in that situation. And I basically, 2 years ago, had a girlfriend of mine. I asked her if she could. I was really busy with work. I'm like, hey, can you look into this name for me? And like, here's like a possible geographical like location. I didn't want to tell her like what it was. I
Oh,
was
so
like,
she didn't know that this is potentially dad that were.
yeah, yeah.
What
So
did she uncover?
So she basically, after a couple weeks, said, "Hey, nothing turned up on that front. Let me know if there's anything else I can do." And I was like, "Okay, no worries." And again, whatever. On to whatever I was dealing with at that time. One day, I'm at work. One of my team members, my best friend, the one who went to prison, came to my office. He said, "Hey, do you have a minute?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "What do you need?" He's like, I would like to have a talk with you." And this wasn't abnormal at the time. He was a year out of prison. I was still teaching him how to like live in a normal society.
Assimilate, sure.
So I was like, yeah. I was like, he's like, can we go get a coffee? I was like, yeah. I was like, you're driving. I was like, I was on my phone, whatever, and driving and on my phone, and we basically pull up to this coffee place that's near my old condo that I lived in, and there's a dog park right across the street. So we get out, and like he gets out before me, and he's like walking over to the dog park, and the coffee shop is the other way. So I'm like, "What are you doing?" And I'm more probably fixated on the conversation to even really question it. And we're going to the to the dog park, and there was the girl who I told you I had tried to do a little
Do the
detective
research,
work.
yeah.
She would often go during the day, take my dog out, take him for walks, and take him. So I'm like, oh, but maybe she's over here, and
Sure. You're just trying to make it make sense.
yeah, whatever. And I walk into the dog park, and I actually see her like at the end. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I was like, where's my dog? And I'm just like walking towards her, and it's like, I see like someone over here, and there's like a guy there, and I'm walking up to her, and I'm like, she's like, Chris. I was like, hey. I was like, what's going on? She's like, I want you to meet someone. And I was just like, there's a guy here. I was like, hey, how you doing? She's like, I want you to meet your father. And there he was. It was unbelievable. I mean, just talking about it right now. That's like the stories you see those the videos on the internet, and I lived it. And like, and the first thing I thought to say was like,
What did you say?
He had long hair. I was like, you have long hair. I was like, my shit's thinning out. What's going on here? I got the shit. Like, I didn't know. Like, it was a special moment. But it's like, Jesus, what do you say?
What an overwhelming feeling, huh?
Man. And basically I canceled my weekend because he basically flew all the way from New Hampshire, where he lives, to come meet me. She figured it out, set it up, and I spent the weekend with my dad. It's weird to say that.
How long ago was that, Chris?
This is 2 years.
2 years ago?
Yeah, we went to the aquarium. That was cool. It was just, again, like it was like a weekend of like, all right, well, how do we do? I guess there's no standard operating procedure for this. I was like, I'm just gonna do what I think I should do. I mean, he flew on an airplane for the second time in his life. Wow. Him and I are like the complete op. I mean, he eats McDonald's twice a day, like, smokes a ton of cigarettes, blue collar guy from up north, just like literally, I mean, we have nothing in common.
Yeah.
But again, like I knew, I mean, like this was a big deal, and I had to do the right thing. And, we keep in touch. And, but yeah, it was, I felt better after that. Like that what if was absolved.
Yeah.
And, it's funny because I never really thought about how it was. I mean, I knew how it was affecting me when I was using it as an excuse, when I was acting like, I was the one who was victimized essentially when he was never there. So how could that even be a thing? But I really didn't realize that like, it was like an unresolved problem. And you know what that's like, man. If there's a problem that like you got to sort it out, like, but you're so, and there's that little bit of stress, and you may subconsciously, consciously, it's there and it's affecting you. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even realize until after that. I mean, I felt so much fucking different, man.
Hey, first of all, let me just tell you how much I want to take a pause here and tell you how much I appreciate your vulnerability and you sharing that, because a lot of people can relate to that experience in many ways. Yeah. Maybe their dad was around physically, but wasn't around emotionally.
Yeah.
You catch what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah.
Or they were around physically, but they were abusive and they wish they weren't around. And so the fact that you were able to open up and share that, I really appreciate that. You're helping a lot of people, myself included.
I hope so, man, because, like I was on that other end. I was the person using like the caliber of person my mother was, and like the issues that I perceived I had towards women. And my father was never around, and I was arrested 5 trillion times. So I'll never be able to do anything. Like, dude, that was, oh man, that's some dangerous shit. You talk like that, and I believe that's the fucking thing. When I initially said it the first time, I probably didn't even believe it. I probably was just trying to like sell someone else, and then I said it again, and then, dude, it's buried deep. It's deep, and now I am that. And I implore people to really like, if you're holding on to something that happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, 20, fuck, 6 months ago. It's a losing strategy, man.
It is a losing strategy.
It is a losing strategy because you can legitimately go the other way with it. You can use that, like use it, leverage it, use it to your advantage, and become a better person because of it, as opposed to fixating on that problem, focusing specific. I mean, what are we talking about? Like sexual abuse, physical abuse. I mean, you're fucked over, stabbed in the back. What, you weren't hugged enough. All of these things I can relate to very closely, and those are terrible things. Nobody's disputing that. But what I think is a lot worse than that is letting the past victimize you in your present and basically destroy
your future,
your fucking future.
Right?
And so many people do that.
Dude, this has been such a monumental topic right here. And a friend of mine who actually started off as my therapist in 2014, 15, I started having these massive anxiety attacks. And so the doctors put me on.
By the way, I read your book, man.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. It was awesome. And
appreciate it.
After I came here the last time, I'm a fast reader and actually listened to the audio book, man, and I felt like I was right there with you. So
thanks, man. I appreciate that. But so I decided to work with because the Xanax wasn't working; it was killing my creativity. And so I said, I'm going to work with a therapist to really get over this stuff. Instead of basically masking my anxieties and stresses, I want to address them. And so for me, it was this whole issue of, I was molested as a kid, and that led to shame, rage, confusion, and that led to a world of problems and blame and victimization of myself, etc. Kevin taught me two things that were really cool about what you just shared. Is he said, one, anxiety is anticipation of future pain, right?
Sure
so you
is.
said that thing that you were carrying here because it was the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Did my dad fucking not love me? Is that why he left? Did he not love my mom? Were we not worth it? And was I not worth it? Was I going to be too much of a burden for him? And that anticipating what he might have thought. Anxiety is anticipation of future pain. And if we just address that, which is what you did, you're like, hey, honey, go check out this name. And you probably knew that it was going to stir up some emotions, but you were willing to face it anyway.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was, he said, look, in life, we get two chances at a father and child relationship. And I was like, yeah, we do. He goes, yeah, once when you're the child, once when you're the father. Right? I was like, holy shit, you're right. So everything that I feel my dad didn't do right, I'm doing right now with my kids. And I see you doing that with your employees who work for you. And now I could just imagine how that's going to happen with the kids that you adopt and the kids that you have in the future.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. So how important, we know how valuable and important personal development was and self-education was, but how important is mental and emotional resilience in the development that you've had?
Man, it's everything. And not to like backtrack, but one of the things about how I was feeling about my past, I through the personal development and through the process of learning to think differently and evolving my level of consciousness and awareness, I realized, because again, I was saying these things, I was thinking these, I was believing these things. I ultimately realized that the reason I was feeling, thinking, and saying these fucking things over and over again was because they were planted there. Someone else at some point, multiple times even, basically put that there and essentially instilled in me a belief that I needed to act or react a certain way towards this situation. And I'm talking about two different things. I'm talking about my dad and towards the abuse. I can remember, Bedros, I can't remember like what I ate this morning for breakfast, but I remember when I was 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, I remember being in a situation. It was office, and I know that my psychiatrist, I had a psychiatrist at this age. I was with my psychiatrist, and I remember his name. His name was Stan. It was him. It was a couple police officers who were not in uniform, but I knew they were police officers. And I remember Stan and I spoke before in a private room, and then we went over there, and basically they were trying to get me to say something to whereas they could go take some sort of action toward whatever was in question at that point. And I just remember like Stan, like, and again, this is probably how they're all trained. I mean, he was like essentially coaching me up before I went. I mean, again, I didn't know I was going in there. He didn't tell me, but I remember he was like basically telling me what I needed to say. And I remember I didn't say it. I couldn't. I was too embarrassed to say it. Like I remember, I'm like, I could not.
Was it because it wasn't true, or because you were just too embarrassed to say it?
I honestly don't know. I don't know. I don't know, but I know that like after that, I know that the people around me, the way that they like were treating me and like acting, I felt like, oh, okay, well, I'm getting all this attention now, so let's go with this. Let's go with this. And the way that, the perception of my mother at any given opportunity she had to take a dig at my father, who wasn't fucking around. So she had to really like go out of her way to do that. So like, okay, he's a piece of shit, noted, like as a kid ongoing. So like all these feelings, it's like, fuck, like, okay, so I'm supposed to feel like this. I'm supposed to, I mean, when you're getting, people are, consoling you and comforting you as a kid, and that locks in and you have that association, dude, like.
You begin to seek out that stuff more,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Yes.
You begin to seek out the negative validation.
The person, I mean, so anybody who's not live a fucked up life, right? Like, so that's good. You don't have to, the personal development it's so fucking important on so many levels, man, because not only is it basically a guarantor to your success, if you do have things, buried that are essentially like holding it back and things that, these limiting beliefs, it will help you address that. And, with you, obviously the time that you spent with the therapist, not only did it help you sort out what you need to sort out, but it's obvious to me that it puts you in a position to help other fucking people do that as well.
Yeah.
And that's I mean, dude, that's the game.
That is the game. That is the game. And truly, it is the most selfish thing we can do is to help others and serve others, because the more we serve others, the more we're able to heal the shit within us, right?
Brother, so it's so funny you say that. When I'm trying to like sell people on going and giving back and getting involved and contributing, I say the same thing. I was like, look, most people don't do things like that because they're selfish. I was like, I'm selfish. That is why I go do it, because although I am helping other people, although like, there is good that comes out of it, there is an impact on the other side for them. I mean, I would make the argument that I probably benefit more than they do just because of the feelings that are associated with it. I mean, there's truly no fucking better feeling in the world, and I've done a lot of drugs, man.
So you know what to compare against.
It's evergreen. You never get burnt out on it. Like you never, like it never goes away. The high doesn't, like you don't. It's. I mean, it's like we talk about gratitude, and it's so fucking corny. But if it's the reason why people are talking about it, and people that feel that they don't have anything to be grateful for, they're not going to get that like you and I do, right? But you got to start with wherever you're at. You got to trust the process of gratitude. You have to focus on whatever, because there's a lot. I mean, people tend to focus on the one or two shitty things about their life as opposed to like the 20,000 like good things. But man, like the gratitude is it truly is the way that you wake up every single morning and dictate the outcome of your day. You either be grateful by focusing on the good things, or you ultimately have a shitty day because you focus on the problems. Most of the time, these fucking problems haven't even happened yet.
That's true. We manufacture what might happen, right?
Exactly.
Again, anticipation of future pain, and then we go and start reacting to that. Before we wrap up with the final question that I have for you, if our friends watching and listening to this episode, they want to learn more about you, follow you, where do they go?
Yeah, I would appreciate that, guys, for tuning in. Definitely on Instagram, at Chris Cavalini, Cavallini. Same on Facebook. And I launched my podcast. I'm not sure when this is going to come out, but you can check out my podcast, Start Today podcast. If you like the vibes of this, you'll definitely get a lot out of that as well.
That's awesome. So, Chris, if we were to go back 20 years to a 16-year-old, confused, angry,
insecure, misguided
young
weak
man, right?
Yeah.
And then we bring this Chris in front of him. We go, hey, you guys, why don't you guys sit down for about 5 minutes? And Chris, why don't you bestow some wisdom on the 16-year-old, misguided, insecure young man? What would you share with that young man?
I would basically try to communicate to him to the best of my ability. Again, you're dealing with a lot of years of experience and different mindsets. I would basically let him know that what has happened to that point of his life is not his fault. However, what will happen for the duration of his life is, and that everything that has happened to this point is the foundation of what arguably could be one of the greatest comebacks in the history of comebacks. And I would do my very, very best to put it in a perspective how critically important it is for him not to squander that opportunity.
Good for you. That's a strong message to end on. Friends, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the BK Strength Show. As always, give us the likes, give us the love, take a screenshot, share it. And be sure to follow my man Chris right here. We'll see you later.